So I've done a little experimenting. I wasn't happy with the paint and acrylic medium mix, so what I tried was some actual wood stains. So I'm going to just brush this on the inside of all the cavities in the on the roof and the walls of the covered barge. Just trying to get kind of a uniform coat here. The combination varnish, or in this case polyurethane and stain, will give me like a varnished look on the wood, which from some of the pictures I've come up with on the insides of the covered barges, they kept them varnished, just like you would your woodwork in your house, to keep it looking good and most important, from soaking up any dirt or oil, or and to keep it preserved. Seal it well. So that's why instead of just a plain stain, I'm going to put on the combination to kind of mimic that varnish and that stain, or the varnish and the wood. I found a website that has pictures of a museum that's built in, I guess, the last existing covered wooden barge, and they take it around and display it in New York Harbor and around the area as a museum, and they have special events and stuff on it, I guess. And so I was able to actually go to the website and find photos of the interior of the barge, some really nice colored photos, and they really show great detail what the inside looks like, and it's pretty cool. So that's kind of what I'm going by as far as coloring and the look we're after here. Pretty cool. One thing that does seem to help is make sure you brush out as much of the stain as you can, and try to brush it with the grain of the wood, because that's the whole point here, is to try to simulate wood. And then after brushing it on, I'm also taking like these side pieces, and I'm wiping off the surface stain, or at least wiping it lightly to give a little bit lighter color on that wood, and then that way there's some contrast between it and the wood back inside. Another little technique here is see where it's pooled down in that crevice. After it dries for a few minutes, I just take that and I brush it up, and it ends up looking like like water stains, or where there's been moisture just from the atmosphere or whatever, tends to leave stains on the roofs inside of things. I know we've got really old houses that we live in, and our house that we live in, and there's always discoloration on the old wood inside up in the attics. Not necessarily leakage, but just where it's kind of gotten a little moist and has discolored. So that kind of gives a nice effect that way. So I'm gonna stain the insides of the doors. I've already painted the outside to match the outside of of the barge here. So I'm gonna just put a coat of that same stain onto the wood. And I'm just gonna try to get it into all the crevices, and I'm gonna come back and wipe the excess off to give it a little more uniform look anyways. So I'm not too worried about being neat at this point. So now I'm gonna wipe the stain back off, and so that gives me kind of a uniform coat for the back of it, or the background I should say. And now I'm going to highlight these edges so that they stand out as actually part of the structure of the door. So they kind of pop out a little more 3D this way. Yeah, it doesn't have to be perfect. It's all just to kind of trick your eye into thinking that things are a little more 3D than they are here. And that looks way more like a door. And I'm also painting the undersides of the hatch covers. I painted the front red where it would show, which matches the trim along here. And I haven't done anything with the roof yet. I'm going to go in and paint that by hand, and probably wait till I'm all done with the interior to do that. So I'm just basically painting this to look like old wood on the inside and around the edges, old varnished wood basically. So I've got my display barge almost finished. I finished painting the roof. I hand painted it a white acrylic, and then I took actually I took a Sharpie and highlighted all the tar lines and where they would have put tar on with usually with a mop to seal all the seams on the tar paper roof. I put in the Grant Line door and window castings, and I'll show you the inside here. And I ended up using stains to end up with a kind of a weathered wood look that showed off kind of an old used interior that had seen a lot of years, and turned out pretty good. I haven't painted the inside of the Grant Line door and window castings yet, but I did put a first coat on the inside trim, which is cast in place, and I glued in one door just to kind of just for display, so we could see one door closed and the others open, which these doors slide into the walls like a pocket door. So when they're fully open, you don't see the door, is how the real ones worked. So basically that's what on our kit we've just left, so that if you want the doors open, you just leave them off, and if you want them closed, you put them closed, and if you wanted to do something in between, you could just cut your door yourself and glue it in whatever position you want. I've also painted up a bunch of crates and barrels and positioned them inside of the barge so that they can be viewed through the edge or through the doors, looking through them. One thing I did do, since we wanted to take photos of this one, is I rigged it up to be able to hook up a battery and a couple of lights. These are just the mini Christmas tree lights, and I basically just wired those to one of these little pigtails you get at Radio Shack to hook it up to a 9-volt battery. And I did a little brighter than you probably would do it just for your layout display, because again, we wanted it for being able to take pictures. So when you hook that up and stick that under there, it gives it a really nice bright look. And we set that deck house down, and then we can put the hatch covers back like they would be when they were loading stuff onto it from the ship. And we've got a couple ladders to put on, and they just set there and there. And it's pretty much done. And I also just made a little temporary light to stick inside of this tugboat. Just for a night scene. And here we have shots of the interior and kind of what it looks like here. A night scene on the water. Yeah, it's fun to have a little light to liven up a scene. And that was why we put the interior in this kit, so that you could see the far wall on it and just see the cast in place details. Make it easy to come up with a pretty cool night scene.